My name is Virgil Gheorghe. I'm a PhD in Communication Sciences in NUPSPA. I'm glad to present you my research related to the influence of the moderator role of work locus of control on the development of organizational behaviors. This is an intervention through a self-help narrative model. This is a short summary of my presentation today. The current global economic competition entails considerable challenge for the organizational life. There is an increased interest in identifying the main factors that could improve an organization's performance, allowing it to achieve its goals and objectives. This is a research, is a second part of 3 cross-sectional surveys aimed at identifying the relationship among the individual and the social constructs of the organization's environment. The first survey at T0 provides an analysis of wide spectrum of correlational connections between the individual and the social factors of communication, the organizational attitudes and behaviors. This part, the second survey I present you today, analyzes on the first hand only the variables which have an interdependent relationship in the first survey, and also it makes use of experimental method through a moderated intervention on the work group. The third survey uses the relationship among the variables from the first survey and applies the direct intervention on the group of participants. The research takes into consideration both transversal and the longitudinal approach, which evaluates the results of each stage and the conclusions of the entire research as a whole. We consider that analyzing the communication systems in a general systemic approach enables to assess the organizational communication both as process, exchange and adaptation mechanism, and as a product, fundamental results of the organization. The best business plan may become inoperable if it is not known by the entire staff and the staff does not join forces in order to meet the proposed objectives. This is a short draw related to the variables we are looking in this research: interpersonal communication, work locus of control, and organizational behaviors. Few words about work locus of control. The concept of work locus of control, developed by Rotter alongside the theory of generalized expectancy, refers to the level of effort made by a person to complete a task, level determined by the person's convictions regarding the relationship, effort, performance, and the work results. According to Spector, the trend of personal behavior contribution, or locus of control, represents the direction in which individuals tend to attribute what happens to some internal factors, skills, efforts, persistence, or to some external factors as luck, other people, divine intervention. The author highlights that the internal and the external sides represents two ends of a continuum. Specifically, people who have a higher internal locus of control adopt interpersonal communication strategies with a higher social exposure. They try to form and strengthen new interpersonal relationships to solve their relation problems in an active way, while the external people will adopt passive strategies of avoiding conflicts. They don't show concern regarding setting up a new interpersonal relationship and show a significant internal distance in interpersonal relations. Few words about interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is the most popular form of verbal communication. It is inevitable for humans, and their existence on the social level within the family, work groups, and the group of friends depend on their ability to relate through communication. In an organization, interpersonal communication mediates the coordination of organization efforts to achieve its objectives. Communication is required to ensure the efficient functioning of the organization system and to maintain adequate relations within the organization. About the organizational attitudes and behaviors we focus in this research. We consider that organizational behaviors are the expression in actions of perceptions, values, abilities, and attitudes related to the physical and social characteristics and the work environment. Job satisfaction is one of the organizational attitude and, of course, express to behavior. For the present research, we have chosen to study the job satisfaction as it is one of the attitudinal variables accepted both in literature and in practice. And it is a factor that contributes to employees' physical and mental well-being. Job satisfaction is an attitudinal variable that reflects the individual's overall assessment of his or her own job and can be defined as an employee's attitude toward his or her job, taking into account the economic issues, interpersonal relationship, specific activities and responsibilities. Job satisfaction is also influenced by groups of factors associated with the work environment and the employee traits. Those pay, promotion, supervision, fringe benefits, contingent rewards, operating conditions, co-workers, also nature of work or communication, organizational climate or interpersonal relationships, working for a prestigious institutions also are attributes that generate specific experiences towards the workplace. Organizational citizenship behavior is a concept, defines the voluntary individual behavior, which is not directly or explicitly rewarded through the official reward system, and which supports the efficient functioning of the organization. From this perspective, there are two types of citizenship behaviors. First, there are those when the employee strives to exceed the minimum requirements, and second, the employee is the one who takes the initiative and always offers to lend a helping hand to his colleagues in achieving individual or team goals. So citizenship behaviors have various ways of expression. They are recognized by the formal reward system, and they also support the employee performance as well as the efficient functioning of the organization. Concerning the previous empirical findings, we found in the scientific literature that there are a link between work locus of control and job satisfaction, considering that the employees with an internal locus of control have better integration into work. There are also people with a higher internal work locus of control show high adapted communication strategies to situation. The previous survey at T0 investigated the relation between work locus of control, job satisfaction, and the organizational citizenship behavior in a transversal non-interventional analysis. There are two objectives for this research, we call T1. First, to increase the levels of job satisfaction and OCB, subsequent to the influence of the work locus of control on interpersonal communication. And also, we implemented an online guide, a brochure to develop the ability to understand the events with the aim to develop the internal work locus of control. Based on these objectives, we established the relation between those variables between interpersonal communication and job satisfaction and organizational citizenship behavior through a moderating variable work locus of control. So, based on these objectives, we established the following research hypothesis. First, H1, if the intervention moderated through the brochure will have a positive influence to increase the internal work locus of control, then it will generate increase the level of job satisfaction. And the second hypothesis is related to relation between work locus of control through increase through internal level to increase the organizational citizenship behavior. The convenience group study created for this survey is formed of 47 participants selected randomly and based on the accessibility criteria from the control group consisting of 270 participants involved in the research at T0. The instruments were generated online using an open source online application. This is the research design and the methodology with the instrument we used for this research. For the work locus of control scale, we used 16-item scale assessing an employee's generalized perception concerning the control at the workplace along two directions, internal and external work locus of control. About the job satisfaction scale, we used a questionnaire which assesses the employee's appraised level of job satisfaction, developed by Spector in 94. Interpersonal communication scale we used for external perception and internal disseverance, means both two dimensions of this variable. And we also used organizational citizenship behavior checklist, a 20 items instrument designed to evaluate the frequency of OCB among employees. Then distinct score can be calculated for both scales, which also reflects the directed towards through the organization or towards through the co-workers. We used the paired sample t-test function to find the variable averages, then comparative interpretation of those results. We also measure with this instrument because we have two different moments, control moment T0 and also experimental moment at T1. Results for the first hypothesis, we analyzed the variation of the results relating to the work locus of control and the job satisfaction between these moments at T0 and T1. We can conclude that for the 47 participants in the survey, there is a statistically significant difference in terms of the increase in the level of internal locus of control at T1 as opposed to T0. So the results indicate an increase in the work locus of control average subsequent to the use of brochure guidebook. The obtained results suggest that a change in the work locus of control in the direction of internality will have effects on the increase in the job satisfaction level, both at a generalized level and the level of the variable subscales. I'm referring about pay, promotion, supervision, fringe benefits, contingent rewards, nature of work, and also communication. So, consequently, along with the increased internal work locus of control, we will identify effects on the increase in job satisfaction. So the first hypothesis on this research is confirmed because after the moderated intervention achieved through the use of guidebook for the development of the ability to understand the events at T1 at this level, we found an increased level in the internal work locus of control within the group of participants, and so it will produce effects on the increase in the job satisfaction level. The second hypothesis, with the relation try to find between work locus of control and the organizational citizenship behavior between T0 and T1, we found a significant difference in the work locus of control scores. So the conclusion is there a statistically significant difference in terms of increase the level of work locus of control at T1 compared with T0, So this hypothesis is confirmed because after the use of a brochure for this development of the ability to understand the events and to increase the internal work locus of control within the group of participants, with the effect on the increase in organizational citizenship behavior. Conclusions and implications of, of course, the limits of this survey. The results set forth with regard to the change in the dimensions of the work locus of control, job satisfaction, and organizational citizenship behavior indicates effects of the intervention moderated through the use of brochure for the development of the ability to understand the events, to manage the one's states when faced with reality, to define and to classify the work locus of control, and to develop the internal work locus of control. Further, to the use of this brochure for the development of the ability to understand the events, changes were identified in the individual's attitude with significantly increased values of the internal work locus of control, and also with increased values of the job satisfaction. Moreover, we consider the limits of our research, which opened the opportunity for investigating new research directions in the future. Firstly, the study group contains a relatively small number of participants and indicates a numeric imbalance between men and women. This being the reason why we cannot generalize the obtained results at the level of the entire population employees. Secondly, we consider that another limit of this research is connected to the individual nature of the job satisfaction. Whereas the applicability of the job satisfaction concept within an organization is difficult and complex. It is necessary to take into consideration the individual and the circumstantial nature thereof. But the contribution of this survey to the scientific studies field consists, first of all, of the creation of the individual model development, a tool to develop the internal work locus of control, with the direct effects on the job satisfaction and on the organizational citizenship behavior, and also, second, the practical validation thereof through its utilization within the group of participants. Thank you very much for this attention.